introductions. We've got Nick Broomfield, who is the Associate Head Teacher at Radford, and we've got Amanda Poole, who was the Teacher and Head of Science teaching at Radford, who made the original application. So welcome to both of you, and I'll tell you who's on screen. We've got Philip Feather, who is Senior Past Master. He lives in Cornwall. We've got Anne Reid, who's one of our fellow helpers on our Board of Trustees for the Charity Fund. You've got the Master of the company, Bill Cheshire. If Amanda has not explained the structure to you, we don't have a board of directors for the company. We have a court, and the head of the court is the master, so he would sort of be the chairman. And then we have a prime warden, who is number 2, who is Barbara. Our renter warden, who's number 3, isn't with us today, unfortunately. We've got Linda, who is one of our liverymen who lives down in southeast London. Ron Reid lives in Nottinghamshire, Northamptonshire. I'm sorry, and Tony is our beadle, and the beadle is our sort of master of ceremonies, and in theory is responsible for keeping us all in order and under control. He tries very, very hard, and then sometimes we have to keep him in order and under control. So you've got a fair, interesting cross-section. I know that Amanda has not, they only started school today, and so it's Amanda's first day in school, and it's
my
not second day in school. She actually started last year and only did 1 day. So she's really new on the block. So she hasn't had chance to do a little video for us. So what I've said was she can do it retrospectively, and having recorded our presentation today, we will fit the recording of the school children answering questions and sort of giving us a flavour of what they're like, and we'll fit it into the video in due course. Meantime, we're going to get the person that's just joined us, by the way, is Lee Baildham, who's chairman of the trustees.
Oh, I know Amanda, and Amanda knows me of a long time. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, good, thank you. Nice to see you.
Back from the European soil, I see.
Yes.
Yes, well done.
So what I would do is, now we're as many as I think we're going to get for today, is I'm going to invite the chairman of the Board of Trustees to do a little welcome and say hello to everybody, and then Amanda can take over and tell us a little bit about, and then Nick, I think you're primed up to tell us about the school, and then we'll have a general chit chat after that, and then the master will close and say thank you very much. If you're happy with that, Lee?
Sounds good. Thank
Over
you,
to you,
Mr. Clark. All is good. Welcome everybody to the latest presentation. It's lovely to make an acquaintance with a teacher that you've worked with before. Amanda will probably tell us a bit about what she does and her rather unusual qualifications as well. She is not what she just appears. Not that any teacher is can be judged by the subject that they teach, but I was lucky enough to meet Amanda as a result of our engagement with the Ogden Trust, and she had set up and was running a Phys Lab that you may recall. Phys Labs are supported by Ogden. They basically go into schools and they are primarily physics based, and we got together, started talking about it, and that was the first of what I would describe of the more modern Glass and Society projects, where your money, all of those of you that are here that contribute to the charity fund today, thank you. We had, I think, 3,500 children, wasn't it, Amanda, in Leamington?
Yeah. And it's gone on because all the kit is still being used every year by all of those schools.
Yeah, which is tremendous. And we then went on, and this particular school that Amanda was at, got involved with Space Camp, didn't you? And this tiny little place in the back of Leamington Spa, for those of you that know it. I mean, it's a nice little town, but nothing particularly exciting, are engaging with schools in North America and goodness knows what. I mean, it was an amazing story. So it's great to see her back and working together again. So that's how I know her. You presumably have come back to work in Coventry and then thought, well, I think you sent me an email, didn't you, a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago. I lose track of time at the moment. Everything melds into another. So that is the reason why we're here today. So this is very much the continuing relationship with a teacher in another school, which is always my desire, if it's at all possible. But Amanda, as you see, we've gone a little bit more high tech now. You know, the glass cellars have come out of the 17th century, and we're now probably into the 18th. You know, we're engaging with Zoom as a result of this extraordinary year or so that hopefully is now going to be far behind us. Maybe we could just hear a little bit about your school. Sorry, the head, is it Nick? Hi, Nick. Maybe tell us a bit about the school for a minute or two. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, of course. So we are a small school in the middle of Coventry. So I don't know whether anyone knows Coventry. In the middle of the country, near Birmingham. We're right in the middle, next to the ring road, in quite a poor area. So a third of our children come from low-income households, which is the 15th percentile of the country, so relatively quite poor. We've got lots of children who speak English as an additional language. So in our school, we've got about 40 languages that the children speak. We've got very high special needs children who've got a variety of needs, from hearing needs, social and emotional needs, quite a few on the autism spectrum, and that all comes together to 230 children. We had one who wasn't here today, and kind of that's the overall part of the school. Over the last few years, it's changed a lot, Radford Primary School. So I'm new to the school. The executive head, who is the head teacher of all the primary schools in our MAT, is also kind of new to this school, and there's been lots of change. If we look back at previous Ofsted inspections, the school has been graded not good enough for the last 4 inspections, and the one before that was inadequate. So it's been it's a good 15 years where the school hasn't been going really well. Over the last kind of year or so, we are definitely on an upward trend. The children are amazing at this school. They've got so much potential, and the biggest kind of failure that I can see at the moment, when I started in September and just getting to know the children, is just how worryingly low their aspirations are as a cohort. There's an odd child who wants to be a doctor or an astronaut, or a YouTuber, a bit like we're all doing now. But the majority it's so sad when they are actually gifted in STEM subjects or in literature or in drama, and they are not interested at all in a career. I've worked at several schools kind of around this area. I worked in Warwick in a school called Newborough, and the children, all 30 children in any cohort, any class, gave you a really aspirational career. They might not go for it, but they have that thought process that they're going to be successful, they're going to work hard at school, they are definitely going to get a brilliant job, they're going to love their job, and that was all of the children. And I think that's something that we are really working on. Amanda's really helping getting some gas into this. Lots of kind of science week preparation, working with the Phys Lab, really getting it going, getting everyone loving science. And that's kind of our next target, is get everyone on board. In the short term, thinking about the last 2 months or 6 months, we've been working remotely, so a lot of learning like this, and I'm not sure how much you've all been doing this, but after a while it does get a bit stale. It gets a little bit, it's a bit sterile, isn't it? It's not as welcoming as a conversation in a classroom. And I think for children who are, we have 3-year-olds in school and 4-year-olds who have to learn this way and have had to learn this way for a few months, and the impact that has is massive. I think one of our subjects that hit the hardest is science. Hands-on experiments, making things and using things has been so difficult because we've had to send things home and then bring them back, and then they've had to quarantine, and the admin of it is just impossible. So it was really nice today seeing Amanda in the phys lab, making a big mess, having lots of fun, and learning, which is just amazing to see. So just to give you a little bit more information before I finish, we are from nursery up to year 6, so from 3-year-olds to 11-year-olds. We feed into lots of secondary schools, mostly Bars Hill, which is a very close school, and yeah, science and aspirational work is kind of our next top target for our school. Does anyone have any questions particularly about our school or our setting?
Are you a member of any other group? You're not an academy school, are you?
Yes, so we are. Yes, we are an academy. So when it was a few inspections ago, Radford got inadequate and was turned from a local authority school into an academy school, and they joined a MAT called Sydney Stringer MAT. Which is, and in that mat of schools, there's this school, there's Riverbank, which is an SEN secondary school, there's Sydney Stringer Academy, which is a secondary school, and then there's Ernest Grange, which is where Amanda's from originally, that's your kind of home school in Coventry, and then Sydney Stringer Primary, which is where I'm from, which is another primary school in the mat. So there's only 5 of us at the moment.
So yes, and that list of schools, most of them Glaston Society have worked with actually in the past. Almost a perfect list.
Brilliant.
Radford being one we've actually done 3 projects with now. So interesting.
Do you have much land around your school buildings, or with being in the city, do you still have plenty of land?
So actually, I feel that we're quite lucky. We do have a field. We've got 2 big playgrounds. My previous school, which is Sydney Stringer Primary School, it's built upwards, and we've got 2 floors, and there's quite small playgrounds, no field. And coming here, for me, it feels brilliant because we've got trees, we've got space, we've got playground equipment, and there's lots of it, and we're quite lucky. I think we do need to use it more. That's something also one of our targets. We've got a few targets, but that's one of our targets, and get the children out and about rather than stuck inside the classroom.
Thank you.
I've heard you mention that one of the secondary schools that you feed into is SEN. Is that special educational needs?
Yes, so SEN is special educational needs, but we don't feed into one. They're in our group of schools. So we are a group of 5 schools, and we all kind of work together, and one of them is a SEN school.
So do you segregate your pupils and send autistic ones to that school, or do you sort of integrate them all over the schools?
No, we're all together. So for my year 6 class, all of our children are going to different secondary schools in Coventry. They're not necessarily staying in our group of schools, because we're only 5 schools, and there's lots to choose from in Coventry.
The school that Nick's talking about serves the whole of the city, and it's got a special unit for hearing impaired learners and different. It helps create a typical secondary school environment, but for children who've got different needs that they can cater for in a specially designed environment.
Sorry, I didn't hear. Are we talking about Riverbank Academy?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've also, that was our very first special school that Class and Society supported, just so everybody knows.
Small world.
Our reach is getting bigger and bigger, as you will find very shortly. We're going out to Cornwall, hopefully very soon. So quite exciting.
Well, that's foreign.
Don't start that. You have a gentleman that resides in Cornwall online today, Beadle, so be very careful.
Watch it. As a Plymouth boy, I say they're foreign.
Amanda, what's this unique part of you that Lee's alluded to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think it's something to do with your science background, isn't it?
Well, so I was originally a graduate. I did joint honours in physics and astrophysics in Cardiff many years ago. And then I've taught secondary physics for quite a long time before moving into primary. And actually, as Lee sort of suggested, I've been away from the area for 3 years. My husband's job took us to Denmark, so I've been studying a PhD in primary science, and so I've come back, and Ernstford kindly offered me some work when I first came back, but now I have a new home here. So I have taught secondary and primary physics, and as Lee mentioned, I also set up a Space Camp UK project, which we've worked with, gosh, I think about 350 primary schools across the country now, setting up Space Camp residentials in schools, enrichment science activities for kids. So I think, is that what you meant, Lee?
Something like that, Amanda. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I said to Paul that you had a degree in astrophysics and physics, and you know, it's not the sort of thing that every teacher in a primary school probably has, I would imagine.
No, not common, not common.
No,
but primary schools are amazing places to be. And so what was really lovely is Lee first came across me when I was working at Shrubland Street in Leamington Spa, which was my first primary school. And actually this place really reminds me of Shrubland Street. When I arrived at Shrubland Street, it was required improvement. It had been for, I think, 10 years almost. And it seemed to be in a very similar place. It's a similar sized school. And this place seems to be on the same journey. And it was magic to be at Shrubland Street in those years of progression. So it's really nice to be here and sort of getting involved in it all again. And so the Ogden Trust had done some work with Radford. It's been part of a partnership, you know, the primary partnerships you've heard of before. And so the school in the past have had physics training and things from the Ogden Trust, and ended up with a phys lab that was open, I think, last March. And then the schools locked down and never got used. And then if I'm right, Nick, there's been quite a big turnover of staff. So the teachers who were involved aren't here anymore. And so I've come in to help get it going and work with the teacher to see how they can use this science learning space. But what's quite interesting is because there has been some focus in the school already on physics in the curriculum and teacher training, looking at physics topics and getting in resources, it's quite nice that the project that we're doing, based in this school to have the highest impact hopefully here, but we are part of a partnership, so what the equipment that we're going to be able to buy with the money you're giving us, we'll share the workshops so that it gets the most impact possible. But we're going to start having a chemistry focus and really looking at glass from a scientific point of view. And since I applied, actually, I started getting in touch with some local glass sellers about the project to help source the materials. And there's a little place in an area of Coventry called Earlsdon, called Albany Glass, that has been there since I was a little girl, really small corner shop. And I've got in touch with them and they've said, whatever you need, you can have, we'll meet, you can tell us what specifications you need, what thicknesses of glasses, size, they'll do it. So it's really nice actually that it's going to allow us to sort of have that community engagement And actually, you know, we're talking about raising aspirations. We're going to have a contact with a business that work with glass, and that is their trade, that perhaps the children will be able to ask questions and find out a little bit about careers and things, as well as having the glass to do the experiments with as well.
Exciting. Amanda, I would ask you two things. One is, have you heard of the European Space Agency Juice Up Your Rocket Art competition?
Yes, I have. I've seen that.
Good.
We've got a science week here is it in about 3 weeks' time, Nick?
Yeah, this competition finishes 1st of June.
Yes, so I think it's on our list of possible things that we can do in that week with all the classes.
And this small glass people that you're talking to, would you ask them if Sutton to Coalfield is too far for them to talk to a school there? Because I have a school there that's interested in doing a stained glass window of their coat of arms.
Oh, I'll do that. But I have also, in my inquiries, met someone in Coventry who does glass fusion and things in her workshop. But I know her because I was her mentor when she trained to teach physics. And she is an outreach officer at Warwick University.
Right.
So she might be a better person for that.
Well, if you can put me in touch, then I'll put her in touch with the head teacher at Sutton Coalfield.
The other thing that occurs to me, Paul, in terms of promoting the company and its associations, maybe you could just send a link to Amanda of the immediate past masters' latest adventures.
Oh yes,
Amanda, we have our immediate past master is associated with an organisation called Glass Futures, which, as you know, glass is entirely sustainable, but the problem is that it has a huge carbon footprint. And he has just got a huge amount, or this organisation has got a huge amount of money from the government to study the use of renewable and low carbon energy to melt glass and to steel, the various dirty industries that there are. And the exciting news is very, very recently, they've actually done, a company called NSERC has done, which is associated with this project, has done a run of 3 million bottles, completely using cullet and sustainable low carbon energy. So it's your kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
You should at least be aware of it anyway.
Absolutely.
And the link to Glass Futures has already been sent.
Oh, fine. Sorry, gosh, you're a bit slow today, Paul. Goodness.
Sorry about that.
There we are. Very good. Okay, that's good. So keeping the promotion of all these ideas, but it really is. It's an amazing project, actually, and looks like it might even work, which would be spectacular if it does. Because it's something for the entire world, obviously. But there we are. No, it's wonderful, wonderful.
Yes,
Can I just add that glass is the most energy efficient of all of the heavy industries. It really is. Just got to put that in.
Speaking as a former owner of a glass company, yes, thank you. Thank you, Prime.
Yes,
it's not that we're into this, Amanda, as you well know. I mean, the enthusiasm of the group of people we have online today, and trustees and supporters of the fund and so on, I don't think quite match your level of enthusiasm, because I think that's the one thing that bowled me over about you when I met you first at Shrubland. But they're all very keen on promoting and spreading the word. And of course, that just brings me on to my usual reminder to you, and indeed to Nick. If you like the experience that you've had with the glass sellers, please tell your friends. We've supported, obviously, many schools in Coventry. And just for a note, actually, of for those of you that know, obviously you will all know Professor John Whiteman, my predecessor as chairman of the trustees. His family business was in Radford Road in Coventry. You'll be fascinated to know. He was very supportive of your application. So it's a funny old world, isn't it, really? Tell me, just one question from me. Data loggers, what are you going to do with data loggers, please? Because we're not, for everybody's benefit, buying microscopes as we often do. Amanda asked for money for data loggers and various bits. What do they do, and what are you going to do with them?
Well, they're marvellous. They're really marvellous. But basically, so in science, in primary school, there is the curriculum that's the science knowledge. So we hope that by the children reach the age of 11 and leave school, they know all these science facts. But then there is something that's called working scientifically, which is the skills of being a scientist that we also develop alongside that knowledge. And that involves planning inquiries, carrying them out, collecting data, matching children's learning from English and maths to be able to analyse, discuss, argue points, but also really use data to support their ideas. So what the glass is explicitly mentioned a number of times in the national curriculum, right from year 1 up to, I think the last time it's mentioned is probably in year 5. So it is something we really need to talk about and children need to be familiar about. But what the data logger does, it has built-in sensors. The ones that are particularly of interest to me at this stage are the light and temperature sensors. But it allows us to get children to engage with glass and explore glass with much more use of their numeracy skills, where they can change particular variables and see how that affects the light that gets through the glass or the temperature inside the glass. So the experiments we're looking at are, we're trying to get progression in them. So there's one that's going to be designed for Key Stage 1, the year 1 and 2, one for lower Key Stage 2 and one for upper Key Stage 2. And so they'll change variables, for example, the thickness of glass. So the same type of glass, but we'll have several pieces in different thicknesses, so they can analyse light going through it and use the data logger to make measurements and see how the thickness of the glass affects the amount of light that can come through. Then we've got another one where it'll all be the same thickness, but they've got different coatings on, or there's been different chemicals mixed in the glass to give them colouring or whatever. So they can look at those, which gives you data which children can then analyse in bar charts to really understand how those different glasses work differently and what they might be useful for. And then with our older children, when we're trying to get them to be able to do really carefully planned fair tests and be able to do line graphs looking at trends in data, then we're looking at the numbers of layers of glass. So if you put layers together, how does that affect the light that goes through? So that's the main inquiry. But also you can measure the reflection of the surface of the glass as well. So if they have torches and then the data logger positioned at the right angle, then the light that reflects off the glass they can measure. So they can see how changing the coating and actually measure the differences there. So you can get data to understand how the different types of glass behave differently. And once we've got the kit, actually it's transferable to other things. So Nick said about making the most of our outside space. We have got outside space, but it could do with loads of development. So I see at some point, you know, we might explore with our plant growing, having glass houses or a greenhouse, and then the data loggers can be used to monitor temperature over 24 hours in the greenhouse and get all sorts of graphical data to help children understand what's going on. So it's got quite far-reaching impact across the curriculum.
That's absolutely brilliant. Everybody will probably realise also Amanda's quite used to making videos and has worked with the BBC before now and so on. I believe I'm right in saying that, am I?
Once or twice, yes.
Yes, I thought you had.
It's fun being on video though.
Well, I know, but that's the way it goes, isn't it? Some of us get used to it. Anne, you've got you're waving your hand around. So
I know. I want to come to your school. Can I join?
One day you'll be allowed to come, Anne. One day.
Thank you. I shall look forward to that. It's so exciting to hear all these things for little kids, because when I first went to school, there was absolutely nothing, because it wasn't long after the war. And schools were just opening up and had no buildings and all the rest of it. So it's really inspiring to hear all these things happening. So the very best of luck to you all.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're probably all looking forward then to see this fabulous video, aren't we, of your report now, of seeing all these children running around playing and working with these data loggers, which sound quite fascinating. So I'm rather better informed, Amanda, because although I knew it would be a bit of kit, I did actually have to Google to see what it was.
They're marvellous. And Lee, there's something else about them. So you think it's quite technical, right? And it can be quite technical. It can measure to 2 decimal places. So for our older children, they can make some real careful, accurate measurements. But there is a setting on it that you can change it so that instead of numbers, it has up to 10 suns for measuring light. So for the younger children, they can still get used to using it as a piece of equipment.
And that's brilliant.
They can access it, which is really good.
Yeah, it is. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Can I ask you just one thing? I love the enthusiasm that you have for the subject, etc., and it's wonderful. Have you considered the Worshipful Company of Scientific Infants? I was their beadle for 30 years, but they are very much connected to the Institute of Measurement and Control, the National Physical Laboratory. So that's somewhere that you could go. But my main question was going to be completely different to that. Your enthusiasm, is it matched by your parents, or do you have problems in that respect?
Well, Amanda's parents.
My parents or the school parents?
School parents.
My parents.
School parents.
The school parents. Nick will have to answer that.
I reckon answer that one. So I was just going to add as well that obviously, as you can see, Amanda's got amazing enthusiasm. And as mentioned earlier, not all primary school teachers have astrophysics degrees. So what we're doing is we are having Amanda teaching our classes, but the teachers are coming into the lessons and kind of working with Amanda to make sure they absorb as much of this enthusiasm as knowledge as possible, so we don't we can kind of spread it around so the whole school can benefit from it rather than just the lessons that Amanda's teaching. And yes, in turn we do hope that the children will raise aspirations, what we talked about earlier. Parent wise, it is a bit of a tricky one getting some parents involved with school. So we have 33% of our children are from low-income homes, which I said earlier, and that means we do get extra bolt-on funding for these children. And lots of our strategies over the last 3 years has been to get these parents into school and doing activities. Since I started, it's been very difficult to get parents in. We've had so many coronavirus rules. We can't have, at one point it was rule of 6, so we did a parents meeting with 5 at a time. It was a nightmare. It doesn't really work. We're hoping when the rules start to lessen, we'll get some more parents in and we'll be able to show them what we're doing. Over lockdown, it's been great because the parents have to help the children at home, which has been good for the parents because they can see what amazing stuff their children are already doing. But as soon as we can, we'll be sending them videos home too.
I do think we have a new generation of parents with children who are more educated now than they have been ever. I think many of the parents learning while their children are learning while their children are learning.
I was going to say, they've like crashed course over the last year, haven't they, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And I'm quite sure they brought them to the school gate this morning, absolutely delighted that they were able to hand them over.
Nick, were you open during during the lockdown for frontline workers and that sort of thing? And if so, how many people were in, or how many children?
Yeah, so from March last year, for lockdown 1, we had 3 children in school out of 230. For this lockdown, we had 73 in. So much more children managed to get in. And that's for 2 reasons. We had we wanted the children in I really wanted the children in, and as I said, the executive head earlier, Miss McCann, she also really wanted the children in. So any child that we deemed vulnerable, following the government's guidance, we could bring them in. So if children weren't working at home, if they weren't doing their classwork, we could invite them into school. So we had about 10 in every classroom out of 30. So the kind of bare mechanics of the school carried on going. All the staff were on site. We had the children eating in the hall. We were doing PE lessons. Parts of the school were very similar. And it was the most vulnerable children that we had in. But yeah, it was about 23%.
Yeah. Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Indeed. Can I ask, excuse me, what kind of lesson you give these children who've got no interest in anything by the sound of it, or don't know what to be interested in, I suppose, they're not grasped. What is the first lesson you give them to awaken some little spark inside? I mean, my grandson was a good example of that. He got very bored very quickly, and he needed the light switching on inside him.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and not unique. Unfortunately, that's lots of children in school, and part of the whole MAT ethos is two things: is experiences, so fun trips, amazing days, enrichment days like Science Week, and then in lessons is real things, using their hands. If we're doing a lesson about mud, it's to have the mud in their hands, not look at a picture on a computer. So we try and have real as much as possible. In year 2, they're learning about boats, so they have a kayak in the classroom. When they are learning about roller coasters and things, they're making things and spinning them around to feel the G-force in their hand. And every lesson, if possible, we make sure it's as real as possible, and that helps engagement. When it's all on a computer screen or on a whiteboard, that's when some children disengage.
Yes. I remember my son coming home in tremendous excitement because the teacher had made an explosion.
Yeah, and those are the ones you remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can I add something to that? And just that might help as well. So the school has a thematic curriculum. I think what's quite important and really powerful is everything that's taught here is taught through themes, so children can see why it's relevant and important to them. So for example, my lesson this afternoon with year 5, we were learning about water resistance, but they're doing a topic all about theme parks and theme park rides. So I had them doing an experiment to help them design a theme park ride as what would be the best shape for the capsule to fall through water slowly to see the sharks in the tank. So you sort of get them all bought into there being engineers, you talk about the jobs, and it just brings it all alive, and they get really excited by it. So I think that the thematic curriculum really helps children see value in what they learn.
It's all about relevance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's giving them things. I've sent you a link to another thing we learnt about, which is 11 before 11. Which you may not have heard of, and it's a principle that's been set up. It's got hundreds of schools on it, where what they do is from the time they start school to the time you hand them over to secondary, they have to have achieved 11 experiences, which is like, you know, camping out overnight, going to a country, which is very real, Nick, about what you're trying to do with the school, is giving them real first-hand experiences out of their normal sort of comfort zone. But presumably, because of the low incomes, their adventures of going away on holidays, and you know, we engage with Northeast London Army cadets, and we help fund some of them going on a camp for fortnight, and they go to an army camp and they have real experiences there. And many of them have never even seen the sea, for instance. You know, they've never been to the coast and things like this. And I mean, in this day and age, it's very hard to really sort of identify with that sort of going without, as it were. You have that. You have that a lot within your environment.
Yeah, it's a real shame. In my previous school, which was in this group, which is very close, it's about a 5-minute drive between the two schools, so it's the same area. We were driving to, I think we went to the theatre for a panto, and we went past a field with a horse in, and the amount of excitement in the bus of the children screaming, "Horse, horse!" and they hadn't seen one in real life. They hadn't been to a farm, even though Coventry is surrounded by farmland, and you could go in any direction 20 minutes and you'd be in farmland, and they just hadn't been exposed to it. They've got so low cultural capital. It's horrible, and it's one of the things that really drives the staff here, that these children need as many experiences as possible. As soon as we are out of lockdown, the trips that we've got in the bank are going to be amazing. We're going caving in South Wales. We're going camping as soon as possible. I know Amanda's going to sort out some overnight stays, and I know there's a trip next year that looks very exciting, which is going abroad, hopefully, if we're lucky.
But I suspect there's a lot of our children here that have never seen the sea.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, for a period of time, I lived in a little village called Enville, which is outside Stourbridge, which is West Midlands, and I was really shocked as a young person, early career, to discover that there were people in the village, elderly people in the village, who went to Stourbridge once a year and had never been to Birmingham. Never been to Birmingham. And
it was
like 20, 25 miles away, it's absolutely.
I've never been to Birmingham.
Yeah, but you're not 25, it's not 25 miles away for you, Tony.
No, I can agree with that, Paul, because we had students at Dudley College who'd flown to Spain but had never been to Birmingham.
Mind you, I have to. Sometimes if you go to Birmingham, you know why they've never been.
Now.
I presume they had to go to Birmingham to get to the airport and go to Spain.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No.
But yeah, and that's it. We've got a few children who say they go to these amazing places. They say they go to Barcelona or Istanbul, but actually what they do is they get on the plane, they land in the airport, and then they get the car to their family's house, and then they stay in their family's house for a week, and then they come back again. And actually all they've experienced, it is an experience and it's great, but they haven't experienced any of the culture.
Yeah. Could I ask, what is the rough ethnic breakdown of your pupils?
So we're about 45% white British, about 30% Indian, for about 20% Sub-Saharan and South African, and then a mixture of, we've got a few Asian children from China, and quite a few Polish children. It's a bit of a mixture. It's good.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Nick, did you say 40 different languages or 14?
14.
14.
Oh.
1-4.
That sounds a bit easier to cope with.
Yeah, I thought you said
4-0.
4-0. Yeah, 4-0.
Oh, 4-0.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the most. We've had schools that have had 22 and 25.
Yeah.
40 is the highest. But I suppose, I suppose, is this the dialects of the Indian population?
Yes, and African.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Could I just ask, in addition to data loggers, what else is on your shopping list? I've seen it some time ago, but I couldn't find it to refresh myself.
Well, is all the glass samples and the measuring equipment that we need, and then the storage for the glass so we can use it safely and not be damaged. I was anticipating having to buy the glass, but it looks like that's going to be given to us, so it might be that we've got enough to add an extra data logger, if that's okay.
Of course it's okay. I think everybody that's been listening to you and Nick this afternoon is more than happy for you to allow you to do what you need to do. The other thing I'll say whilst I'm at it as well is that if you want a glass house, you know where to come, don't you?
Oh, maybe
you've got one.
That'll be another project in the future.
Well, there you are. There you are.
Yeah.
Don't throw any stones. Could I add 2 comments for the school? One, a personal historic connection. I drive a 94-year-old Alvis car.
My goodness.
Alvis were the pride of Coventry.
Yeah.
And it's terribly sad that they've gone, but their cars live on and are much loved. And the second thing is to say how absolutely impressive and amazing this project is, your school is, and how privileged we are as glass sellers. We're not just a grand, distant group of city people. We are privileged to be associated with what you're doing, which is absolutely wonderful, and well done.
Here.
You're amazing.
Really do appreciate everything that you're all doing and your interest in our story. And I appreciate that it's not a check in the wind. It is kind of an interest in our story, and it's nice to share it.
Yep.
Great.
Very nice.
Absolutely. I think on that note, I think we'll ask the master to wind us down, I think.
Absolutely.
All right.
Philip has taken most of the words out of my mouth.
Sorry, Master.
It's very inconvenient. But Nick and Amanda, thank you so much for sparing the time on what must have been the busiest day of your year.
Yeah, probably.
Waste time talking to us. Well, that wasn't, of course, a waste of time, but you spent a lot of time talking to us. You don't look harassed at all. You emanate great enthusiasm, and it's so impressive and so heartening to see such enthusiasm being devoted to developing young children in all sorts of exciting ways and turning them into astronauts almost, but perhaps not quite yet.
That's the plan.
That's the plan, yes. But you both have been very sort of lucid in your explanations and filled with enthusiasm. And it really is a great privilege for us glass sellers to be associated with you in these endeavours. Thank you so much. And I hope we can do more to support you in the future. Don't you know where to ask?
Very kind, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I think we'll say good afternoon and leave everybody to get on with their days. Okay, and I look forward to getting that little video. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Bye.